Is Christmas or Halloween pagan? The short answer is no. This is going to be just a quick fact check because all I've been seeing all week is people complaining and whining about how Halloween is satanic and not Christian and it's pagan and it comes from Samhain and all of that stuff. And I'm going to show you what the scholarship actually says and where these myths have all come from, because it is not true. Okay? It's not true. So first, two questions. Did these feasts come from paganism? That's the first question. And even if paganism had similar dates, does that actually matter? So first, we're going to do Christmas, and we're going to talk about that. So the claim that a lot of these pagans and people will make is that Rome stole December 25th from Saturnalia and Sol Invictus, and that all of this stuff comes from like Yule and all of these pagan practices, right? So first, let's just fact check that. So the earliest witness that we have for Christmas and the birth of Christ being celebrated on December 25th is Sextus Julius Africanus. And this is in the year 221 AD, okay? So we're talking about pre-Constantine, pre-Nicaea. This is before Christianity is even legalized. They are celebrating the birth of Christ on the 25th. So we have a pretty good reason to think that this comes from earlier traditions, maybe even the first century, maybe even with the apostles. But even if we're saying none of that, we're just saying this is when they chose to celebrate it. It was in the year 221. So this is a very ancient and old practice. Okay? So the reason that they picked this date is not because of some pagan festival or some, Saturnalia or anything like that. No. So the logic behind it is, on March 25th, right? Which is when they celebrate the sort of creation, annunciation of Christ and all of that. The Annunciation with Mary and her Magnificat and all of that. 9 months from that day is December 25th. So they're basically just counting the terms of pregnancy and kind of timing it out that way. So that's where it comes from. It has nothing to do with wanting to pick a pagan date. Now, Saturnalia, or however you say it, is celebrated December 17th. It's a week-long party, so it ends on December 23rd. It's rowdy. People are getting drunk and partying and all that. And then Sol Invictus was celebrated on the 25th. But the clearest and first time we ever hear this mentioned in history is in 354. So we're talking about 100 and, let's do the math here, 221, like 123 years after Christians were already celebrating Christmas. And so, if anything, the pagans took this date to mock Christians, which makes more sense, obviously. And this is attested to by Hans Hillerbrand from Britannica, Andrew McGowan, Stephen Hijmans. Like, there are actual scholars who have done this research and realize that this is the case. So we just need to get this idea out of our minds. So the second claim with Christmas is that the feasting and the gifts are all pagan imports and that we stole that from paganism, right? So that's not true either. Obviously, we get this from the biblical story of the Nativity, where the Magi bring gifts. And then, of course, in Judaism, we have Hanukkah and stuff, and so the gift giving. And so gift giving is just a normal part of human culture. So this is not something that we stole from the pagans either. So that's just a silly claim. So let's see. Anything else? Oh, the Christmas tree thing. So yeah, Christmas tree comes from Lutheran traditions, right? So I think like Martin Luther is attributed to making the first Christmas tree or something like that. So it's not a pagan thing either. Let's see. Christians can't use... Oh, yeah. So the idea that we can't use the same dates is just dumb anyways, just because there's only 365 days, so there's only so many dates to choose from to begin with. But as we've demonstrated, Christmas actually came first, so there's no reason to suspect that Christmas is pagan. Going to All Hallows Eve, this one is really silly to me because it's in the name. So All Hallows Eve, hallowed be thy name, thy will be done. hallow means holy. This is All Holy Day, All Hallows Eve, okay? And this is the feast where we celebrate the saints who have gone on before us, all the martyrs, our family members, any Christian faithful who has passed away. This is the time when we honor them. And of course, people always want to say it's based off of Samhain. It's based off of a Celtic religion. Well, first things first, there is no such thing as a Celtic religion. Let's just get that out of the way. Celtic is a linguistic umbrella, okay, that talks about a bunch of different groups from Spain to Turkey. This isn't some unified religion or culture, and they don't have a calendar or anything like that. Samhain wasn't even Celtic, it was Irish, okay? And all the evidence that we have shows that this was like an agrarian farmer harvest type of celebration where it was like the end of fall kind of thing. And they would harvest all the grain and celebrate and party. That's literally all the evidence we have for this festival or this holiday or whatever. There's nothing about Walking Dead, nothing about souls in the veil between worlds. Like, none of that is in the literature. That came much later in like the 19th century as a psyop to try to co-opt these Christian holidays and reframe them as pagans. So we have no ancient proof. There's nothing about a Celtic New Year. It's not a thing. And we did not move All Saints Day to try to take over and baptize Samhain. And the main reason for that is, why in the world would the Pope of Rome know anything that's going on in Ireland? This was a small Irish festival that was locally celebrated. This wasn't a worldwide thing. This wasn't like all Irish people know about this, all Celts, everyone all over the world. No, it was like a couple of communities. So that doesn't make sense. So obviously, is when it comes down to like the customs, all of that comes from Christian folk practices as well. So the trick-or-treating comes from soul cakes. So we used to go door to door handing out soul cakes. The children would bring them and give them away in exchange for prayers for the dead. So instead of trick-or-treat, you would knock and you would give them hand out cookies, little soul cakes, and then they would pray for your deceased loved ones and stuff. And so personally, in my family, we still do soul cakes. We brought this back, and I think that we need to bring back some of these practices to remind people that these are holy days, not days to celebrate evil. And then bonfires and stuff like that also came from Christian folk practices of celebrating All Hallows Eve, All Saints Day, etc. So, and again, we can look to the scholars for this, guys. I mean, we have Robert Davis from the University of Glasgow. We've got Ronald Hutton, who was a pagan historian. He says, no, there's no such thing as the Celtic religion. So, yeah, this is just a bunch of 19th century speculation based on nothing. Some overlap about like eating and drinking and celebrating are just human universals. None of this stuff is pagan, and there's nothing that we can point to really say that it is. And so I think that we as Christians need to reclaim these things. We need to celebrate the Incarnation. We need to celebrate Christ's birth. We need to celebrate the resurrection. I didn't talk about Easter, but people try to say that's pagan too. And we can just ignore all of this internet stuff. And so just to recap, December 25th has been the day that Christians celebrate Christ's birth for 1800 years. It predates the pagan celebrations that people say we took it from. And this is attested to by the scholars. And when it comes to Samhain, there's no such thing as a Celtic religion. There's no such thing as Celtic holidays or anything like that. This was an Irish holiday in one region of Ireland. The Pope would have no reason to even know that it existed. They didn't have any of the practices that people say they did. There's no evidence that they worshipped spirits or did bonfires to fend off spirits, or the spirits were walking around or anything like that. All of that's made up. So hopefully this helps you guys debunk when you hear grandma or your aunt or the crazy homeschooling anti-vaxxer on Facebook going in about how God has convicted her to not celebrate these holidays because they're not scriptural. All of that is a bunch of baloney. Christmas is Christian, Easter's Christian, Halloween's Christian. We need to reclaim it, and that's my Reconquista. So this is my call to action. If you're watching this, bake soul cakes, take your kids to the grave sites to visit your loved ones, bring them flowers, pray for them. when it comes to Christmas, give gifts, talk about Jesus, Advent, all of these things. We need to bring them back. So these are holy days. Hopefully this helped. Anyways, I'm Shwa. This has been Pop Culture with Shwa. This is a little bit of a different video for me, but I needed to clear the air on this stupid idea that all of the Christian holidays are pagan. They are not. And with that, peace be with you.